Hello again. Thank you very much for joining me here on Movie Ninja. Tonight I'm talking about Willow, Episode 7, Beyond the Shattered Sea. So our heroes are finally close to the end of their quest. They reach the eponymous Shattered Sea after having a brief meeting with a strange old fisherman who alludes to the possibility that the end of the Shattered Sea is impossible to find, and there seems to be a strange mystical quality to it. Well, unfortunately, our heroes don't have time to deliberate, and they have to begin their trek across the Shattered Sea to reach the Shattered Sea as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, Eric finds himself entangled with this mysterious young woman in the immemorial city, who, at first glance, she seems, at the very least, similar to him. She seems like they might have some sort of possibility of being a kindred spirit. They're both royalty, they were both abducted beyond their knowledge, and yet something is off about this person. Also, we see that their only natural resource is the elixir that was found and produced in the mines of Skellen, or at least it seems to be of the same quality. So, Eric has to deal with the prospect of being in far more danger than he initially realized. Back to our heroes, when they begin their journey to the end of the Shattered Sea, a strange happening. When they were attacked, they fended off the gales, and when they got deeper and deeper into the territory of the Shattered Sea, time seemed to be suspended. They seemed to be in a type of limbo, to where, well, time is relative. And so what happens is that you have this extended period, well, you have an allotment, actually, of time available to you, say, and since we're off, to save the world, and probably we're going to have to fight for our life, probably, very, very, 99.9999999, etc. percent, probably, we'll be in the fight for our lives, we'll be in the thick of it, then this is a great time, or lack thereof, whatever, to train. It's in this particular leg of the journey that we really see the party act as a team. Petty rivalries are put aside. There's a maturation to the characters that hasn't been there this season, and I'm very thankful that now, kind of close to the end, because it does seem like this next episode is going to be the end of the season, that yes, we really did need everyone to come together for this. So, and I'm very glad for it. Now, this concludes the spoiler-free section of my recap and review. So, all right, y'all. Okay, so spoilers ahead. So, so we start out with Eric and this woman, I believe Lily. I believe Lily is her name. And it seems like they have some banter, they have some back and forth, and Lily kind of, she puts him at arm's length. But then later on throughout the episode, she also tries to seduce him. But I will say this, okay? At the very beginning of the show, I was pretty much convinced that the character of Eric was a shallow, meathead, Chad, just himbo. And he probably would forget about Dove, a.k.a. Brunhilde, a.k.a. Elora Danan. I was wrong. Right? He made an oath to this young woman that he would be her husband and partner, and yeah, the seduction attempt failed because he's like, hey, I said, because he wants to be a man of honor. He does, like from episode 1, we saw that he is someone that Kit didn't realize that he was also as profoundly affected by their father's absence as she was, because she's Kit. Anyways, and when he made this oath, he wanted, to use this in contradiction, because to be a contradiction to his father. Because for whatever reason, Mad Mardigan was out of their lives. He was gone. He was absent. And so, okay, and understandably, yeah, he still maintains a kind of reputation as a ladies' man and such, but it does now seem that in the most dire of circumstances, when no one's looking, no one's watching, no one would know, except for him. Except for him. And he would know that he was, like, he had pledged himself to another woman, and, because he was very formal about it, so I can use that word pledge, It's not like a sort of assumed understanding. But, I mean, he really did. He said that I'm going to marry you. And, I'm going to marry you, and there's going to be nobody else. So that instance really stuck out to me, where he had this woman, and, hey, if something happened, no one would know, unless he disclosed that at a later time. But no, he said, no, Lily, y'all, okay, she's the crone. Okay, okay. It's like, but crone is synonymous with age, and sort of like the way that we understand to be the crone, she's supposed to be some sort of, like, evil sorceress. This young woman couldn't yeah, it's the crone. Okay, like, they don't reveal it in the episode, but, I mean, there might as well be giant, like, characters, on, like in the life of Brian, when he had to write that message, she's the crone. Just, like, all over the ruins of the immemorial city. There might as well be, y'all. Also because she's also trying to, I think I can use the term, like, drug him. Like, the only resource that they have available to them is the elixir that is being produced in the mines of Skellen and somehow being transported there. The old fisherman at the very beginning of the episode mentioned that he used to be a knight, and they were on a quest at one time to rescue the Princess of Kashmir. Now, the legend of the Princess of Kashmir, if it's the same princess, that was several millennia ago, according to Kit in the very first episode. Well, that old man, like, even when you consider the age of that old man, either one of two things. Either the mystical, timeless aspect of the Shattered Sea kind of kept him in a sort of like he aged extremely slowly, like in increments, or that, it's like the explorers that looked for lost cities of treasure and mystical enchantments and things like that. I mean, we do, like, even in our world, we have, like, people that explore for these types of things. So, like, it's generational. So it's possible that he also was a part of a group or a party that went searching for the immemorial city and the lost Princess of Kashmir, and yet he just their quest kind of fizzled out right then and there, and he just never moved on. Well, so, yeah, it's possible that she is the princess from several thousand years ago, and she's trapped in the immemorial city. I could see this as the city as a means of solitary confinement, or at least potential solitary confinement. She mentioned that her culture, her society that she came from, it was very prosperous, but it was very structured, and she wants to be liberated. She wants no limitation on any of her actions, whatever they may be, whatever the consequences may be. So, yeah, she's the crone. That's my prediction. I just said a minute ago, one of my earlier predictions was wrong, but a very, very strong feeling about this. So, okay, now moving on to the group. after a battle where they had to fend off the Gales, we also found that Graydon, in fact, does have magical potential. So, and his medium for spellcasting is the flute that he's been traveling with, since the beginning of the journey. So, because of the quality of the Shattered Sea, and it's kind of like sort of limbo, almost purgatorial, sort of ongoing stillness, time is more of a concept than an actual phenomenon on the Shattered Sea. And this gives our characters time. Okay, we've had 6 episodes to establish a foundation, to act as a building block, and now we do see a lot more cohesion. And I really needed that. Because, and I know that there are some shows that, like, even down to the wire, they kind of keep up the same sort of tone and pacing and like that. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This, very similar to The Mines of Skellen, I feel was very, very structured. They were also not reaching for a lot of humor. And that's the thing. There is humor, but it's well managed and it's well placed. It seems much less improvised. And yeah, I will not begrudge the cast for having their fun on set and for production team deciding to use certain footage. But once again, yes, I was a theater kid, for a few years in high school. Like, pretty much like through junior high and like for a few years in high school. But you can kind of like feel when like, oh, okay, this is just kind of just like pulling out of like nowhere, because it just doesn't have the same feel as when actors rehearse their lines and then they act them out. So during this time, there's a great deal of time to practice. I feel like the time that Willow spent training with Laura was also good for him, because if you have ever participated in any type of athletic sport, doesn't matter what it is. It could be tennis, it could be track, wrestling, whatever it is. Like, even if you are a fairly talented person and you don't have a means of maintaining your, like keeping your muscle tone, keeping yourself limber and strong, then this also affects you. I think like with Willow, one of his big problems that he had, before the events of the show is that he didn't really have, like, he was, to the best of his knowledge at that time, he was kind of the last possible, like, sorcerer. So he had no one to practice spellcasting, deflection, abjuration, casting. He didn't have anyone to practice with. And so now he does, especially so, like, he has also grown in strength. Because I know that some bad faith, like, reviewers or commentators will say, like, oh, but at the beginning of the season, he is like, oh, it totally, like, weakened him. And I think it was just that his muscles kind of withered a little bit in the lack of practice and training with others. Which, not only for, like, I use the parallel of athleticism, but, like, okay, you were excellent in math in high school, but could any of us pass any of our high school level math exams at like several years after, when mathematics is not a regular part of your life? Yes, I realize that most of us should be able to, but you see what I'm saying, okay? Like, it's not just a matter of, mind and muscle. It's also just a matter of, you keep the edge sharp by, by priming it. I mean, essentially that's it. And I love the fact that Graydon is no longer... he's much more useful. As a spellcaster, he will be much more useful. And we already have the prospect that he knows more... Like, he knows a larger range of spells than Allura. Allura undoubtedly has greater magical potential, and she's the most powerful magically within the group as of right now. Willow is second, mostly because still has a large amount of knowledge, but age has taken its toll, as it does for all of us. But I think Graydon is no longer this mopey sad boy. I really wish that people will feel sad for me. Tony, you're doing a great job. like I really am glad that your character is maturing, and close to the end of the episode he says, I understand, we're going to save Eric, and even though I would really prefer that you were with me, I understand that you've committed yourself to this person, and I apologize if I made things weird earlier, but like, let's just pursue the end of the quest and just let that be it. It was very mature. It was very adult. Like she's already said no several times, and okay, the message sunk in. And afterwards, he moved beyond it. He sees her like now as a colleague, a peer that she can, like that she can fulfill her destiny, or at the very least complete this mission. So yeah, Kit. Oh, by the way, I think oddly enough. Yeah, I'm going to keep that phrasing. Oddly enough, I think, well, hopefully, Kit will no longer be insufferable. This time that she's had in the last couple of episodes has really been sobering for her, and so a lot of her baggage has been discarded, and I appreciate that. She's not insulting everyone in the group every 5 minutes. She's not demanding that, events meet her needs, things like that. Like, she's a lot less obnoxious. And at one moment in the episode, she acts as a kind of older sister to Elora Danan, which I like. Okay, I realize that is the whole aspect of character development, y'all. Okay, like, compared to these last couple of episodes, the beginning of the season, which I still had fun watching, otherwise I wouldn't be here. It was on shaky legs, and our heroes were trying to understand themselves and understand their parts to play in the bigger picture here, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. But I like now that it, like, everybody has kind of straightened up. Everybody understands their role to play. Kit is among them. Like, whereas Kit was kind of a whiny hindrance for most of the show, to be honest. Like, now, she has this understanding. Okay, no matter what, we're going to complete this quest. I'm a part of this team, and I'm not the leader of the team necessarily. I'm a part of this team, and I have to integrate myself rather than deluding myself into thinking I'm above everybody. So that was so good. I mean, like, and once again, and I've said this throughout this, this series, if you want to call it like the recap and reviews, that she has been my least favorite character just because of how insufferable the writers made her. So, I mean, like, yeah, this to just have her as a functional member of the team. So good. And she and Elora Danan do combine their strength to take the plunge and find their way to the immemorial city, where it appears that the mysterious young woman has been shaping and grooming Eric for a very specific purpose. And I'm going to call this now, especially because the trolls mentioned in the Mines of Skellen that if you drink the elixir, just as the crone reached out to them, probably, like, mystically, probably, and informed them as to how to refine that elixir, because it will improve them. It will, like, it'll make them more intelligent, it will make them stronger and faster. And I see this. I see the end of the episode when we see Eric, and he's very now he's like a real soldier, He's got it. He's definitely got his edge. He's clean cut. There's no sort of like jovial, bon vivant, sort of like man about town era, like air about him. Now, I believe that this woman has turned him into the fifth Gale. And there we have it. We have Kit and we have Elora. There's Eric, and he doesn't look friendly. So I believe he's been brainwashed. So it's like, but that's where we are. That's where we are. I am so excited for the next episode. What about you guys? Have you seen it? Thank you very much for joining me here on Movie Ninja. It's like, because I just want to go on and talk about it. But anyways, this is I said last time that The Mines of Skellen was probably my favorite episode. Yeah, aside from the finale. Haven't seen it. I'm looking forward to saying the finale, y'all, was my favorite episode. I am looking forward to that. But right now, this is my favorite episode. So, yes. Thank you very much for joining me here on Movie Ninja. I hope you have a great rest of your day.